apologize. I did get a notice about this meeting, and I want you to know why I wasn't here. One of the duties and honors of the county superintendent is to honor our veterans by giving them a diploma, a high school diploma, if their schooling was interrupted by their service to our country. And tonight, we honored 53 veterans from the Korean War, World War II, and Vietnam. And it was a very touching ceremony, I have to tell you. These gentlemen, one gentleman we had in the audience served in all 3 wars and showed up in his uniform. So that's why I'm late, and I really didn't think I was going to be able to make this. So I do apologize, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I have been at this business for over 30 years. I've started as a classroom teacher, and I've been a building principal. I've been a director of elementary education. I've been in charge of instructional division. I've been a chief business official for a school district. And I've been a superintendent of 2 districts here in the High Desert. And I want you to know I'm a resident of the High Desert. I live in Hesperia with my wife, who's here with me tonight. 32 years of marriage, happily. And I decided to go to the county office in 2004. A very good friend of mine who was the assistant superintendent of business services had a stroke, and he tried very diligently to come back at the job, but he was unable to do it. And so, knowing how important the business function of the county office is, I applied for the job, and Dr. Herb Fisher hired me as the assistant superintendent. And he said, I want you to get me a balanced budget. And I brought out the first balanced budget the county had seen in 7 years, and we've maintained that status every year that I've been there. I've been there for 2 years, and he promoted me to deputy superintendent, put me in charge of business, personnel, and IT. And when he decided not to finish his 3rd term, the governing board for the county appointed me to finish that term. And so I'm currently a county superintendent and proud to serve. And I am now running for election in June 8th, and I really do come here to ask for your support. But let me share a few things with you, because you want to kind of know what's happening. First of all, you need to know the county superintendent is not like a school district superintendent. We're more of an agency of the state. We have some oversight responsibilities for school districts that have to do with their fiscal status, their teacher credentialing, make sure that kids in low-performing schools have textbooks, appropriately credentialed teachers, and that their facilities are clean, safe, and in good repair. We also have a support role. We provide a lot of services to school districts. Basically, our motto is anything that they need. We also run the educational program in juvenile hall. Now, what I'd like to share with you, though, is what are you doing for us, Gary? 61% of our schools in this county had made their targeted growth on API. 80% of the schools in this county made some growth on API. We had 40 additional schools that reached the state standard of 800 and 10 additional schools that reached the standard of 900 in our county. We also are here to tell you that 84% of the kids in juvenile hall that took the GED, which is sort of like a high school equivalent exam, passed. We also have programs in juvenile hall where students are taking college courses because we're trying to turn their lives around by giving them an education and some skills so that when they leave the hall, or if they have to serve some time in prison, that when they get out, they're going to be able to serve their communities and become productive members of society. That's our goal. I also would share with you that we're making some tremendous progress in our county. And even though you sometimes hear that public schools aren't doing all that well, I'm here to tell you they are doing well, and we're doing better than we ever have. Unfortunately, you always hear about the downside of things, so that's why I'm here tonight to share with you some of the good things. We do have our problems. We have a dropout rate that's unacceptable. We have a dropout rate of 22.5%. We're losing almost 1 in 4 of our kids. And that matches up to the state average of 18.9%. And so I put a call to action committee together early this past summer We looked at 40 research studies in terms of what are the best practices to keep our kids in school. And we now have a stakeholders group that numbers probably, I don't know, Carolyn, 70 people. Carolyn's on that committee. And we're looking at what can we do to keep our kids in school. That committee is broken up into 11 subcommittees, and we're looking at anything from training attendance clerks to properly mark kids when they leave their schools, because if they don't, the automatic default is dropout. We're looking at programs to help teachers. You know, we laid 1,000 teachers off last year in our county, and we're getting ready to do another 1,000 this year. And in addition to that, the support staff around them is disappearing as well. So as teachers are getting bigger and bigger class sizes, the support staff around them is disappearing. And so we're trying to figure out ways, how can we help them? Because one of the things we know that's key is the relationship between the student and teacher. That's where the learning happens, and that's what success is built on. So we really need to reach out and get support from communities as many ways as we can. We're reaching out to our faith-based partners. How can you help? Can you put together literacy centers, algebra clinics, reading centers, whatever it is that you can do to help? We're also looking at parent programs to help parents understand how they can actively engage and advocate for their children in the schools, as well as how can you become better families. We are looking at a number of things. Counselors. Counseling ratios when I went to school in this state were about 300 to 1. They're over 800 to 1 now. The amount of money that we receive in this state, when I went to school, we ranked 5th out of 50 states. The last study that was done in 2007 placed us at 47. So you can see the dilemma that we have in education. We're shrinking resources, and now with this economic downturn, it's been very, very painful. We also have a partnership with law enforcement. We have 3 ways that we work with law enforcement with our Gangs and Drugs Task Force. We're working on what kinds of programs and opportunities out there for our schools to implement to keep gang violence down in schools, help kids get to school safely. We have our law enforcement and educational partnership. This is a group of superintendents, chiefs. Rod Hoops has a representative from the Sheriff's Office as well involved in that. And we're looking at policy issues. How can we work together with law enforcement when kids get involved in this sexting stuff that they're doing right now? How can we help? How can we work together to make sure that that's handled correctly? And thirdly, with the district attorney's office, we have a program called Let's End Truancy. And our district attorney, Mike Ramos, has allowed assistant district attorneys to sit on our school attendance and review boards as a service to that school district to help parents and students understand the importance of attending school. We also we have our Alliance for Education. We're building a network of STEM academies, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and we're building a support system around that. The Alliance is working on the new 3 R's, even though the original 3 R's really weren't 3 R's. They are rigor, relevance, and relationships. Rigor, the state of California has some of the most rigorous standards in the world. But what we need to help our kids understand is, why do I need to learn this stuff? The relevance piece. I don't know about you, but I remember sitting in high school taking trigonometry, and I could put the numbers in the little formula. About 70% of the time I got it right. Couldn't tell you then, and I can't tell you now how to really apply that math. See, that's the problem. Kids need to know how they're going to use the information we give them. So we take them over to the CSI Crime Lab, the sheriff, and they get to talk to real CSI agents, and they tell them how they use trigonometry every day in their work to help solve crimes by analyzing blood spatter. A little gross, but the kids like it. But it's that relevance piece. We hook them up with firemen to show them that they use algebra to compute the PSI at the end of that hose to make sure that firefighter has everything they need to put out that fire. We take them to businesses where they learn about how they work on logarithms so they can project costs into the future. That relevance piece is critical. And finally, relationships. We talked a little bit about this earlier. We know that what we found when we talked to kids that dropped out of school, 9 out of 10 times what they told us was somebody would have cared, somebody would have noticed, a mentor, a teacher, a coach. I probably would have continued. We had one young lady that told us she intentionally ditched school to see if anybody noticed that she was gone.